good audience here, so let's do this thing. So first thing we'll talk about is the position on Euro AUD that was the focus of yesterday's live stream. That was the trade that I took yesterday. That was the first trade of the week. That trade ended up moving lower, slightly lower overnight, but then ended up pulling back. As you can see, it stopped me out in profit 2 pips lower than my entry. My entry was 155.28. I was out at 155.26. So still profitable, but it ends up coming higher. So we'll talk about this in a second. Then you can see today, I took my second trade of the week on GBP CAD. You can see multiple exits here, right? You see how there's different close prices. My best exit was at 169.90. My entry, you can see it's all the same entry price. This is just one position that I took. See how the time is the same? It's one position. So my entry was 170.36. And like I said, best exit was 169.90. Now, this happened as GCAD, amongst the other GBP pairs, got shaken up by some news this morning. So when we trade into high impact news events, it's important that we follow a couple specific rules that I've only learned over time. I'm going to talk to you guys about that once we get into that trade. But first, let's talk about Euro AUD. So let's switch you down to here. Boom, boom. All right. I'm going to get good at it. I'm going to be flying with this switcher. I'm going to have shit flying in. It's going to be lit. You'll see. Just give me a couple more days. I'm waiting for the graphics guy to send it to me. So here's the position on Euro AUD. You guys know where we took this entry yesterday. It's following an A1 formation, which is a breakout formation, but I waited about an hour to get a better risk reward setup. With an 8 or 9 pip stop loss, I ended up getting good risk reward down to ADR, which is this green horizontal line right here. That's where I closed half of the trade yesterday. You saw that P&L yesterday. Now the rest of the trade, as you can see, gets stopped out as it comes higher here overnight. This to me looks like some type of news event, some type of overnight volatility. So what I want to do first is let's look at Forex Factory and see if overnight we had any crazy news events. Not that I see here. Let's go back and just make sure at midnight there was nothing. No. You can see it goes from 9 p.m. into 2 a.m. Nothing that would shake up Euro AUD here, at least that I see. The major news event that we're going to talk about today is this 7 a.m. GBP high impact news that shook up my GBP trade. But last night, nothing. So this could just be regular movement, if you want to call it that. But either way, this was how I was managing the trade. Now, I had a couple of people reach out to me and say, how did you not get stopped out here? I just didn't. With my broker, it didn't pull back and hit my stop loss price at 155.26 when it pulled back here. It ends up just coming a little bit under that. So I was able to stay in and still see some of that drop in the afternoon yesterday. Overnight last night, I thought here off the 21 EMA, we could see more movement to the downside. It's crossing the 8 and 21. It's breaking for a new low of week at that point then coming into Thursday. So I was like, okay, maybe this is going to hold the 50 and move lower overnight. During the Asian session, I wouldn't expect Euro AUD to normally make crazy moves because it's not an Asian session only pair. It's not like, what's a good example of that? I always think of GJ. GJ moves a lot, or like GA. Those are pairs that typically move better in the Asian range. To me, if you look at like my testing, Euro AUD has been hit or miss in the Asian range. You get a big move today, but if you look back at other days, the Asian range, it doesn't move much. Sometimes you still get the Euro move in the London session. So I wasn't sure what this was going to do overnight, but either way, stop loss was locked, letting the trade do what it's going to do. And then I went to sleep. So overnight, it comes up and hits my stop. I didn't move the stop down, maybe to here or here, because I did want to give it space. I wanted it to be able to pull back to the 50 and come lower today if that's what the trend wanted to do. We didn't get that. So that's why I left the stop. And again, I had a small piece left on. Once it moved through ADR, I'm out of most of this trade by yesterday afternoon. I'm not holding a big chunk of it. That would just be foolish because it already was a nice move. Why be greedy? That's what I tweeted this morning. Don't be greedy, be grateful. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that in the GBP AUD trade. But let's see if we have any questions on this, on Euro AUD. Please explain Euro GBP. We can go over that later, definitely. Good morning, Jerome. What's up, bro? Swing Killer, good morning. Did this again yesterday. Drink with my cap on my water. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I've got, let me try this out. So let's see if I can send you guys some I'm going to send you a link right now. I think, in the chat. We'll see if it pops up. That'll send you guys to my favorite trading books. Oh, yeah, there it is. That's amazing. Grab my favorite trading books right there in the chat. You guys can click that link. Let's see if it works. Does that take us to Amazon? Beautiful. Cool. Shout out to this Stream Deck switcher. This is sick. I'm going to throw you guys another link here. If you're interested in the free ebook, you can grab that as well. That was something that we put out a couple months ago. It's brought in a lot of new people to me, which is good. So if you're new to me and don't know a lot about ASFX or me, check out that link right there with that ebook, Trading Success. You can grab that for free. So let's talk about GBP CAD. So again, the entry this morning comes before news, about 45 minutes before news. We're going to throw it into replay mode here so you can check this out with me. So first thing we're going to talk about is what? The TDI. That's always what I'm looking at first. TDI is bearish. You can see from the changeover of day up until my entry idea, this is in the sell zone. So it's very bearish. It's a really solid bearish trend. It's not oversold, which is a good thing, and there's no divergence against me. There's no bullish divergence present on the bottom. On top of that, if you look at just price, go back to Tuesday. Here's Wednesday, and then today, Thursday. Look at Tuesday's low, tested, bounced. Tested on Wednesday, bounced. Tested Wednesday afternoon, bounced. Broken here as we come out of the Asian session overnight last night. Retested once here at the start of the London session. We're trading the second retest, another lower high off that very significant level that was set back on Tuesday. That's a big piece of this trade for me, is that significant price level that we're already underneath it. I've talked about this with you guys a lot. I've talked about how when you're trading levels, horizontal levels are the most important ones. Now, I'm taking that straight from Peter Brandt. He's tweeted about that many times. If you don't know Peter, he's one of the most successful traders. He's actually in the Unknown Market Wizards book that Jack Schwager put out a couple of months ago. I follow Peter just for his insight like this. He said that horizontal levels are much more significant than diagonal levels. So when he sees horizontal levels broken and then retested, that's a great place to go in and look for an entry for continuation of that break. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. Now, you don't want to just do this with any horizontal level. You want to have specific entry signals that go into exactly how you should take the entry once that horizontal level is broken. So again, I wouldn't be short up here. I wouldn't be short necessarily above the horizontal level that's been bounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I would wait for that horizontal level to be broken, and that's where I would come in to look to trade. So if you're looking to go short up here, you might find an issue at that significant price level. And also notice, it's never 100%. It's not like it's going to pin the exact price level because it's not just one price level. It's more like a zone. That's how key sensitivity levels are set up. It's based on zones. So you could even look at this whole pin here as the zone. It's now underneath that. Either way, we're under the significant level set earlier in the week. The TDI is telling me to be bearish. EMAs are telling me to be bearish. 800 EMA is way up here. ADR is 110, which is really good, right? That's got plenty of space to move. So I'm like, okay, this could set up to continue lower. Now, the 8 and the 21 EMAs are already in a downshift. We're coming off the 21 EMA, and then we get the proper TDI value when the next candle closes. So as the next I didn't mean to leave replay mode. It's all right. As the next bar closes bearish, that's an indicator that this trade should continue lower. I've talked about that with the other A1 formations that we've gone over this week. So here, when that next 15-minute bar is bearish, then I'm saying, okay, it's 6:15, news is coming at 7:30. I've got 1, 2, 3 candles before the news candle. Let's see if we can get to low of day. So as it pushes in the next 15 minutes, I'm getting more interested in closing some of the trade. Then in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to go to the 1 minute now. In the next 15 minutes, it finally surges down towards that low of day. So you can see here on the 1 minute, what was really good about this was the 1 minute liquid 50, 1 minute TDI falls into the sell zone at the close of the A1 formation. And that's a really strong sign to me that it should continue to move lower if that TDI stays in the sell zone, which is what it does. It never even goes up towards the 1 minute 50 EMA. So as it started to fall at 1R, I closed 20%, stopped locked right away. So as it fell right here, and I'm getting close to being up 1R, I'm getting ready to take off some of the trade. Right now we're up about 1R, taking some of the trade off, locking the stop loss because I know news is coming, and I'm not going to go red on a trade where I can see high impact news coming. That's silly. If you ever can see high impact news coming on Forex Factory, you should always get out of the trade completely, or if you're in profit, you can lock the stop and hold the trade, and that's what I'm doing here. So then as the trade continues to move lower, we're getting closer to news. It's now 7 o'clock. At 6:50. At 6:50, it pushes for a new low of day. It's right at that low of day level. So I'm taking off more there. Then 1 minute before news, 6:59, I'm taking another 20% off. You can see right here at 170.13. It then pushes down really hard right as news breaks. My best exit that I showed you was 169.90. If you look back at the P&L here, you can see 169.90 was the best exit. Remember, I got some off here at 15 and then at 90. Then as it starts to pull back up here, I'm full out at 1.7007 right there. And that was my last piece that I closed. Because then I'm saying, okay, I know what news can do. I know news can go crazy and shoot this back higher. I didn't even look at the result of the news because I don't care. It's a high impact event. Volatility can happen. So I'm minimizing my risk as much as possible, taking profit, and then I'm moving on to the next trade. Because I don't know what the news is going to do. And here's what it ends up doing. It ends up coming higher. So it was perfect to get out of the trade when I did. And that's why I tweeted what I did. I said, greed will, what did I say? Be grateful over greediness. Grateful over greed. Because I think if you're greedy and you're thinking, oh, this is news, it's going to push it lower, it's got to keep it, you're going to get burned. Whereas if you approach it from a grateful point of view and you just say, look, I'm going to take a little piece, because I know this should continue to move lower into the news. You're grateful for that move. And then you're respectful of what you don't know. We don't know how this news is going to shake up. Guess what? The news was basically exactly as forecast and exactly the way it was previous. One vote changed here in the MPC asset purchase facility votes. That's it. So nothing even changed and GBP still goes crazy. It's as simple as seeing these red folders on Forex Factory and saying, I'm making sure I can't lose any money if I'm holding a trade into that. Sometimes you might be down on a trade when news is coming and you're like hoping that it'll shake out for you before news hits. Most of the time that you hold that losing trade into news, you end up losing more money. So that's why I always say, if you're holding a loser into news, just get out before the news comes because it can get so volatile, it can shake you up. What's up, Buck? Good morning. So he said, how's that a 4-candle formation if the right leg doesn't come lower? To me, it's valid because I'm not looking at it to break all this consolidation. If one bar was to come down and break that whole consolidation zone, it would be overextended. It would have been the biggest bar of the day. So what I'm looking at is for it to be off the proper EMA, which it is, the 21, and I was looking for the RSI to be at proper value, which it was. When I opened the screen and I looked at this, it was in proper value. So if the RSI is proper and I'm coming off the 21 with a solid formation, I'm just looking for the formation to give me risk. It can be any form of the formation, 2-candle, 3-candle, 4-candle, it doesn't really matter. It's about, is TDI value proper with the candle coming off the proper EMA, and does it give me a risk point? If all three of those things are answered properly, then I'm going to still consider it an A1. I hope that answers the question, Buck.